The moment you opened your mouth to defend yourself, you lost. Every argument you won, every explanation you gave, every time you raised your voice to prove your worth, you handed them exactly what they needed to keep doing it. Silence is not weakness. Silence, used correctly, is the most terrifying thing one human being can aim at another. Stay with this. What you are about to hear in the next 15 minutes is not about becoming aggressive. It is not about winning fights. It is about becoming the kind of man that people instinctively know not to test. Drop this in the comments right now. I no longer explain myself to people who are never listening. That is not a quote. That is a decision you are making for yourself starting today. If you know a man who keeps getting talked over, dismissed, and disrespected, not because he is weak, but because no one ever taught him this, send him this video. That is loyalty. That is what it looks like. The men who subscribe to this channel are not here for motivation. They are here because they chose to operate at a level most people will never reach. That choice is rare. This video is the beginning. Not someday. Now. You already know what it feels like. Someone talks over you in a room full of people. Someone makes a comment just sharp enough to cut, but vague enough they can deny it. Someone dismisses your idea, your opinion, your presence, and instead of saying the right thing, you either explode or you go quiet and spend the next 4 days replaying it. Neither response changed anything. Neither response made them respect you. Here is what no one tells you. Disrespect does not begin with what someone says to you. It begins the moment they decide you are safe to disrespect. And they made that decision by watching you. Watching how you respond to pressure. Watching what you tolerate. Watching whether your word means anything. You have been trying to earn respect by performing, by being agreeable, by working harder, by staying calm and hoping they notice. They noticed. They noticed you will absorb it and move on. The man who is never disrespected twice is not the loudest man in the room. He is the stillest. And what you are about to learn is exactly how that stillness works. If this is already hitting something real, drop a like right now. It takes 1 second, and it tells the algorithm this content is worth showing to men who need it. If you want more of this, subscribe. This channel exists for one reason only. Drop one word in the comments that describes how you feel after being disrespected. One word. And stay locked in, because number 4 is the one most men refuse to implement, and it is the one that changes everything fastest. Let's go.
Marcus Aurelius was the most powerful man on earth. Emperor of Rome, commander of armies, and the men who served under him reported that in moments of confrontation, he became quieter, not louder. He wrote this in his private journals, never intending anyone to read it. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The reframe is this: respect is not taken. It is not demanded. It is not argued into existence. It is transmitted through the energy you carry, the limits you hold, and the words you choose to withhold. Here is number 1. Number 1. The power of the unreturned reaction. Epictetus was born a slave, a man who legally owned nothing, controlled nothing, could be beaten at will. And yet his owner once tried to break his leg just to prove power over him. Epictetus looked at him and said calmly that it would break. It did. He said, "I told you so." Then he continued his day. That is not a story about pain tolerance. That is a story about what happens when a man refuses to give his reaction away. Every time someone disrespects you and you react visibly, face changing, voice rising, posture shifting, you give them information. You show them the button. You confirm the button works.
and now they have a map of exactly how to move you whenever they need to feel powerful. The man who does not react is not the man who feels nothing. He is the man who has decided that his inner world is not for public consumption. His peace is not available for disruption. His energy is not free to take. You do not need to say anything in the moment. You need to give them nothing. Not anger, not hurt, not the small, defeated smile that people use to pretend something did not land. Neutral, still, present, unaffected. They will say something to fill the silence, and what they say next will reveal everything about why they needed to disrespect you in the first place. The most unsettling thing you can do to a person who expects a reaction is to simply not provide one. It is not coldness. It is mastery. Number 2. Speak less than necessary. When you speak, it lands like stone. Robert Greene did not invent this law. He observed it across centuries of the most powerful men who ever lived: kings, generals, negotiators, men who understood that the moment you over-explain, you reveal your fear. Most men talk too much when they feel disrespected. They explain, they justify, they go back 3 points to prove the original point was valid. Every extra sentence is a signal. Please believe me. Please see me as credible. Please reconsider your position on me. Think about the last time you said too much. Did it help? Every word beyond the necessary one is a withdrawal from your authority account. Every over-explanation costs you something invisible but real, and people feel it even when they cannot name it. The man who is respected speaks in complete sentences with complete stillness. He does not rush to fill silence. He does not add qualifiers. He does not say, "I mean," or "I'm just saying," or "no offense, but." He says what he means. He stops. He waits. When a man of few words finally speaks, every person in the room turns toward the sound, because they have learned that what comes out will not be wasted. Train yourself this week. Before you respond to anyone who has tested you, pause 3 full seconds. In those 3 seconds, ask yourself whether what you are about to say is something a man who needs nothing would say. If the answer is no, say less. Say 1 sentence. Then stop. The silence after a short, precise response from a calm man is louder than anything he could have said.
Number 3. Your boundary is not a conversation. The Stoics separated the world into 2 categories: things within your control, things outside it. Your response to disrespect is within your control. Whether someone respects you in the first place is not something you negotiate. It is something you establish. Most men treat their limits like opening offers. They state them, get pushed back on them, then slowly revise them downward until they are left with no limit at all. And somewhere in that process, they told the other person everything they needed to know. A boundary without a consequence is just a complaint. You do not explain your limit. You do not apologize for it. You do not revisit it at someone's request. You state it once, with the calm of a man who is describing a fact about the physical world, not asking for permission. And then you enforce it, not with anger, not with drama, with quiet, immediate action. When someone crosses the line and you respond with raised emotion, they hear, "This person is reactive and can be managed through pressure." When someone crosses the line and you respond with calm and immediate consequence, you leave the conversation, you end the meeting, you remove yourself from the dynamic without explanation. They hear something different. They hear, "This person means exactly what they say." You will not need to say it twice to most people, because the calm is the message. The man who enforces his boundaries without heat is the most believable man in any room. Number 4. Stop seeking approval from the mouth that disrespects you.
This is the one. Marcus Aurelius spent his entire reign being criticized by men he had the legal authority to execute. Senators who questioned him, advisors who undermined him, historians who misrepresented his decisions. He wrote about it not with anger, but with observation. He noted that the desire for approval is one of the most powerful chains a man can wear, and that most men wear it without knowing it is there. Ask yourself something honest. The person who disrespects you most consistently, do you still want them to think well of you? That is the trap. You are working for the approval of someone who has shown you repeatedly that they are not going to give it to you on your terms. And so you keep adjusting, keep trying, keep hoping that this time the performance will be good enough. And every time you adjust yourself to fit their expectations, you move one step further from the version of yourself that would never be disrespected in the first place. The hunger for approval from a person who disrespects you is not loyalty. It is not perseverance. It is a wound that has not been examined. The moment you stop needing their good opinion, genuinely stop, not just pretend to stop, you will notice something strange. Your voice changes. Your posture changes. You stop adding the qualifiers. You stop checking their face after you speak. And people around you, including the person who disrespected you, notice the shift before you can explain it. You cannot fake indifference to someone who has already felt your need for their approval. But you can earn it by doing the actual work of detachment. And that work begins the moment you admit honestly that the approval you were chasing was never coming. What comes next is the number most men resist the longest, because accepting it means being completely honest about who they have allowed themselves to become in the presence of the wrong people. Number 5. Upgrade your presence before you upgrade your words. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, arrived in Athens shipwrecked and broke. He had nothing. He walked into a bookshop, began reading Socrates, and asked the bookseller where he could find a man like that. The bookseller pointed at a passing philosopher. Zeno followed him. He had no title, no wealth, no connection. He had only the quality of his attention and the weight of his silence. Within years, men traveled from across the known world to hear him speak. Before you say anything to the person who disrespects you, before you choose the perfect word or the cutting response, understand this. 60% of what people read from you is not your words. It is your breath, your stillness, the speed at which you move, whether your eyes hold contact without aggression or flicker with the need to be believed. You can memorize every technique in this video and deliver it wrong because your body is still broadcasting uncertainty. Practice this. The next time you enter a room where someone has disrespected you in the past, slow down by 30%. Lower your voice by 1 full register. When you make eye contact, do not look away first. Not as a dominance contest, as a man who has nowhere else he needs to be and nothing to prove. People respond to frequency before content. They feel your state before they process your sentence. If the state you are broadcasting is "please take me seriously," the words you choose will not save you. Arrive as the version of yourself that has already decided, already resolved, already at peace with whatever response comes. That version of you does not need a perfect line. His presence is the line.
Number 6. Use silence as speech. Cato the Younger was famous in Rome not for the volume of his arguments, but for the weight of his pauses. Senators reported that when Cato stopped speaking mid-sentence and simply looked at a man who had lied, that silence carried more accusation than any prepared speech. Most men are terrified of silence and confrontation. They rush to fill it. They mistake the discomfort of quiet for losing ground. They give away their clearest position in the attempt to avoid a few seconds of stillness.
But silence in the hands of a grounded man is one of the most precise instruments available. When someone disrespects you, in a meeting, in a conversation, in front of others, and you pause before responding, you do several things simultaneously. You deny them the immediate reaction they were designed to produce. You force them to sit with what they said. You signal that you are not reacting from emotion, but choosing from a position of control. And you communicate without a single word that you are under no pressure to perform on their schedule. The longer the silence, the more powerful the statement that follows. When you finally speak, make it short, make it true. Make it the last word, not because you forced it, but because after what you said there is genuinely nothing useful left to add. A man who is comfortable with silence in tension is a man who has decided he does not fear the outcome. That lack of fear is the most disarming thing another person can encounter. Let them wonder what you are thinking. The wondering itself is respect. Number 7. Become the man who cannot be diminished. Seneca wrote near the end of his life, in a letter to his student Lucilius, that the truly free man is the one who needs nothing from the people around him for his sense of self. Not their praise, not their agreement, not even their basic recognition. This is not coldness. This is completion. The man who can be disrespected is the man who carries an unfinished version of himself into every room. He needs external confirmation that he is worth something because the internal confirmation has not arrived yet. And people can feel that vacancy. They are drawn toward it, not always with malice, sometimes simply because power moves toward openness. You close that opening not by becoming arrogant, not by pretending you do not care what anyone thinks. You close it by doing the slow, unglamorous work of building a life you believe in so completely that someone else's dismissal of it simply does not reach the part of you that matters. What is the thing you have been avoiding building? The discipline you keep postponing? The standard you keep lowering because it is easier? The version of yourself you describe to others as who you are becoming, but have not yet started becoming? That gap. That is where disrespect lives. Close the gap. Not for them. Not to prove anything to anyone in your current life. Close it because the man on the other side of that work is genuinely, structurally, fundamentally harder to diminish. You cannot insult a man who is proud of his life. The insult lands somewhere and finds nothing to grip. Build something real. Respect follows that without being asked.
This is what changes. The man who walks out of this video and puts these 7 numbers to work does not suddenly become louder or sharper or more aggressive. He becomes quieter in a way that other people feel before they understand it. He stops explaining himself in sentences that were never going to land. He stops chasing approval from rooms that were never built for him. He starts speaking less. And what he says starts landing differently. Not because he found better words, because the man delivering them is different. 6 months from now, not 6 years, 6 months, the person who dismissed him in a meeting will think twice before doing it again. Not because of a confrontation, because of a pattern they observed. A man who means what he says, a man who does not react on cue, a man who left the conversation calmly the moment it became disrespectful and did not return to explain why. That change does not happen all at once. It happens in one moment, then another. The first time you hold eye contact longer than is comfortable and say nothing. The first time you state your limit once and enforce it without apology. The first time you notice the impulse to over-explain and you swallow it. And the silence that follows turns the room. Those moments accumulate, and what they build is not a reputation. It is a reality, an inner architecture so solid that disrespect does not find purchase. You already know the version of yourself these 7 numbers are pointing toward. You have felt glimpses of him. He was there the last time you handled something hard with complete composure and felt briefly like the truest version of who you are. That is not a destination, that is a direction. Start walking it tonight. Marcus Aurelius wrote this not in a speech, not in a public declaration, but alone. At night in a private journal he never intended for anyone else to read. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. There is no version of this where the words you say are more powerful than the man you have decided to become. The work is not out there. The conversation is not out there. The moment that changes everything is not coming toward you through someone else's behavior. It is waiting for you in the morning, in the